My girlfriend is extremely insecure. She demands that I check in with her on time every single day. So, in order to rush back and video call her, I drove home through a torrential downpour, but in the very next second, the world suddenly tilted, covered in blood. I was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. When the nurse asked if I wanted her to notify my family, I politely declined, all because I didn't want Willow to worry. After all, she was still on the plane. Even if she knew, she would only be anxious and helpless. However, what I never expected was, when I got up to go for an X-ray, I actually saw Willow, who had claimed to be on a business trip, gently accompanying another man as he received an 4 drip. Fury surged through me. I demanded sharply why she had lied to me, yet she replied calmly, neither humble nor arrogant. Don't you have any fault at all? You got into a car accident and didn't check in. Isn't it because you don't love me enough? Chapter 1. I held the steering wheel with one hand while the other swiped across the car's touchscreen. It was 8:43 p.m. 17 minutes left before the video call. Willow said she'd make it 9. I glanced at the cake box on the passenger seat and couldn't help the small smile tugging at my lips. Strawberry cream filling. That girl had been talking about it for half a month. My phone buzzed. A message from Willow popped up on WeChat. Boarding now. Gotta turn off my phone. I'll text you when I land in Shanghai. Don't forget to miss me. There was a kissing emoji at the end. I typed back, text me when you land. Stay safe. After a moment, I added, I already bought the strawberry cake. We'll celebrate when you're back. Sent. I casually tossed the phone back onto the center console. The wipers swung wildly left and right. The rain on the windshield was cleared 1 second, only to smear back into a blur the next. Driving in this weather was pure torture. I grumbled to myself, if it weren't for rushing back to catch her video call, I'd rather stay at the office and work overtime. Red light. I stepped on the brake and tapped my fingers lightly on the steering wheel. Today was my 28th birthday. 3 days ago, Willow had already started sighing, saying an urgent project meant she had to go on a business trip, and she could only fly to Shanghai on the night of my birthday. Blame our manager. Could have said it earlier or later, but no. Had to pick this exact time. She complained over the phone, her voice sticky sweet like melted caramel. I promise, I'll make it up to you when I get back. 3 whole days. I laughed back then. Make it up for 3 days. Then I'll have to take 3 days off. Then take them. I'll stay with you. Deal. Honestly, I didn't care much about these things. Back when I was single, I barely celebrated birthdays. Sometimes even Lunar New Year felt no different from an ordinary holiday. But Willow cared. She always said life needed a sense of occasion. So I played along, remembering every anniversary, preparing surprises, showing up whenever she needed me. The light turned green. I pressed the gas, and the car shot forward. The rain-soaked road reflected light like it had been coated in oil. I didn't drive fast, already thinking about what to say during the call later. Willow loved hearing about my work, clients making ridiculous demands, proposals revised 100 times over. She'd snack and giggle, then say, "Our director Wang is the best." The thought made me smile again. The next second, the world tilted. A blinding white light slammed in from the right, accompanied by the screech of tires against the road, like nails scraping viciously across a chalkboard. My mind went blank. Instinctively, I yanked the steering wheel hard to the left. Bang. A deafening crash. Not the slow-motion kind from movies, just a solid, brutal impact. The airbag exploded open, slamming into my face. The metallic taste of blood spread instantly in my mouth. I couldn't tell if it was from a split lip or somewhere else. The car spun halfway around and came to a crooked stop by the roadside. I sat in the driver's seat, dazed for a few seconds. My ears rang, like hundreds of bees holding a concert inside my head. I tried moving my fingers, they still worked. My legs too, just my chest, aching fiercely from the airbag, making it hard to breathe. Someone knocked on the window, a blurry figure outside, mouth opening and closing. I unbuckled my seatbelt and pushed the door open. Cold wind and rain hit me head on, snapping me fully awake. I looked down, my white shirt was stained red, blood trickling down from my forehead. Sir, are you okay? A delivery guy in a yellow uniform ran over with an umbrella, his voice trembling. I waved a hand, trying to say I was fine, but ended up coughing instead. I pulled out my phone. The screen was shattered like a spider web, but it still lit up. I unlocked it, instinctively checking the time, 8:51 p.m., 9 minutes left. Unbelievable. Still thinking about that video call at a time like this. Even I found it absurd. The sound of an ambulance grew closer, red and blue lights flashing, slicing the rainy night into fragments. As I was helped onto a stretcher, I turned my head to look at my car, its front crushed inward like some unlucky guy who'd taken a solid punch. The strawberry cake had flown off the passenger seat and splattered against the windshield, cream mixing with rainwater and dripping down in a miserable mess. The cake, I muttered. The paramedic didn't catch it. What? Nothing. They took me to the nearest municipal hospital. The emergency room was brightly lit, completely different from the pitch-black rain outside. The air smelled of disinfectant, mixed with a faint trace of blood. The stretcher wheels rattled across the floor, echoing down the corridor. I was pushed into a treatment room, where a nurse came over to tend to my wounds. There was a cut on my forehead, 5 stitches, possibly a rib injury, needed an x-ray. My right wrist was sprained, swollen like a bun. "You're pretty lucky," the doctor said while writing in my chart. "The other driver was drunk, full responsibility. You had your seatbelt on, or it could have been much worse." I nodded, saying nothing. The anesthesia hadn't fully worn off yet. My forehead felt numb, almost unreal. I stared at the fluorescent lights on the ceiling, my mind completely empty. Chapter 2. After my wounds were treated, the nurse told me to go to the 4-room for 2 hours of observation. "Where are your family members? Have you informed them?" she asked. I paused for a moment. "I'll let them know later." I didn't actually want Willow to know. She was on a plane, there was nothing she could do except worry. Tomorrow. I'd tell her tomorrow. The 4-room was at the corner of the first floor of the emergency building. A large shared space. There weren't many people at this hour. Maybe 7 or 8 scattered around. I found a seat against the wall, and a nurse came over to hook me up to the 4. The moment the needle pierced the back of my hand, I frowned slightly. The fluid dripped down, 1 drop at a time, painfully slow. I took out my cracked phone and tried turning it on. Surprisingly, it still worked. There were a few unread messages on WeChat. All birthday wishes from colleagues and friends. I replied to them one by one, my fingers clumsily tapping on the damaged screen. Willow's profile picture sat quietly there. The last message still read, "Boarding now." I stared at that kissing emoji for a few seconds, then locked the screen. I closed my eyes to rest, but my ears refused to cooperate. Sounds from the 4-room seeped in, someone on the left blasting short videos at full volume, a couple on the right arguing, the woman saying, "I'm already like this and you're still on your phone." Further inside, a child crying while his mother soothed him in a low voice. A hospital really had it all, the full spectrum of human life. I felt a little irritated and tried to shift my position, but the movement pulled at my wound, making me suck in a sharp breath. Forget it. I'd just endure it. Time passed. Second by second, I glanced at my phone. 9:30 p.m. There was no way I'd make the video call. I'd send a message later to explain. Maybe say I had to work overtime suddenly. Or, just as I was thinking, a familiar laugh came from the doorway. My whole body stiffened. Impossible. I must have heard wrong. The anesthesia must be messing with my hearing. I lifted my head. At the entrance of the 4-room, Willow stood there, wearing the off-white knit cardigan I had bought for her, the one from last week. She'd said she wanted to bring it on her business trip, that Shanghai nights were chilly. In her hand was a disposable paper cup, and she was tilting her head, talking to the person beside her. She was smiling, her eyes curved, an expression I had seen for 7 years. Beside her stood a man. He was fairly tall, wearing a gray hoodie, his left arm in a cast hanging across his chest. Willow stood very close to him, almost leaning against him, carefully holding the cup up to his lips. "Careful, it's hot." "I already blew on it," she said softly, her voice carrying that familiar gentleness I knew so well. The man drank from her hand, then smiled. "You're always so thoughtful." I sat there, unmoving. There should have been all kinds of reactions, standing up, walking over, asking, "Weren't you in Shanghai?" Or even grabbing the 4 stand and smashing it over something. But I did none of that. I just sat there, watching, like I was observing a movie that had nothing to do with me. At some point, the needle in the back of my hand had shifted. A small stream of blood flowed back into the 4 tube, glaringly red. Willow helped the men walk further inside. When she looked up, she saw me. The moment our eyes met, the smile on her face froze. It truly froze, like a video suddenly paused. The curve of her lips remained, but her eyes widened, something in her pupils shattering with a silent crack. The cup in her hand tilted, spilling some water onto the man's sleeve. "Hey!" the man exclaimed. Willow didn't react. She kept staring at me, her lips moving, but no sound came out. Slowly, I stood up from my seat. My movements were stiff, maybe because of the injuries, or maybe something else. The 4 stand wobbled as I moved, its wheels scraping softly against the floor. I walked toward them. 1 step, 2 steps. My footsteps echoed clearly in the quiet 4-room. Willow finally snapped back to her senses. Almost instinctively, she took half a step back, positioning herself in front of the man, shielding him. That small movement made me pause for just a fraction of a second. It was subtle, but I felt it. Chapter 3. Interesting, I thought to myself. I stopped about 3 steps away from them. First I looked at Willow, then at the men behind her. Makoto. I knew that name. There were photos of him in Willow's old phone album, from their college days, wearing a basketball jersey, smiling bright and carefree. In person, he looked a bit older than in the photos, but still fairly decent. "George, you." Willow finally found her voice, but couldn't finish. She looked at the bandage on my forehead, the bloodstains on my white shirt, the 4-tube in my hand with blood flowing back into it. Her face turned paler by the second. What happened to you? I didn't answer. My gaze fell on Makoto's arm in a cast. I stared at it for 2 seconds, then curled my lips slightly. The motion tugged at the wound on my forehead, and I frowned from the pain, but I still smiled. What a coincidence, I said. My voice was calm, so calm it surprised even me. You're sick too? I was speaking to Makoto, but my eyes were on Willow. Makoto clearly recognized me. His expression turned awkward, and he opened his mouth as if to say something. I didn't give him the chance. I turned and walked away. The 4-stand dragged along behind me, its wheels rattling against the floor. The needle was yanked out of the back of my hand, pulling a string of blood beads with it. I didn't care. I just headed straight for the exit. George, Willow called after me, her voice trembling. Wait, listen to my explanation. I didn't stop. The hallway lights were brighter than in the 4-room, making me squint. A nurse saw the blood on my hand and rushed over in alarm. Sir, your needle. It's fine, I said. I'm not continuing the 4, but you need to treat it. You're bleeding. I glanced down at the back of my hand. Blood dripped along my fingers, splattering small red dots onto the floor. She was right, it needed to be treated. Otherwise, it'd be more trouble if it stained my clothes. I let the nurse pull me into a nearby treatment room. Disinfection, pressure, a bandage. I cooperated the whole time, just didn't say a word. As she worked, the nurse muttered, no matter how urgent things are, you can't just pull the needle out like that. It's dangerous. Whatever it is, you should talk it out properly. I listened, but didn't respond. The door to the treatment room was slightly ajar. I could see Willow standing at the end of the hallway, looking completely at a loss. Makoto didn't come out, probably still in the 4-room. Good, I thought. At least he still had some sense of shame. Once the bandaging was done, the nurse gave me a few more instructions. I nodded, said thank you, and walked out. Willow immediately came up to me. Her eyes were already red. George, it's not what you think. Makoto, he has a stomach hemorrhage. I cut her off, my tone as flat as asking, have you eaten? Or a fracture? Willow choked on her words. My car got hit, I continued, as if delivering a work report. The other driver was drunk, full responsibility. I got 5 stitches on my forehead. My ribs might be injured. I'll need scans tomorrow. The cake's ruined, smashed on the windshield. Want to see a picture? I didn't know. Willow's tears fell. I really didn't know. When he called me, he said it was serious. So I cut her off again. So you flew back from Shanghai? I looked at her. 3 hours. Pretty fast. Willow couldn't say anything anymore. She lowered her head and cried, her shoulders trembling. I watched her for a moment, and suddenly felt exhausted. Not physically, but the kind of exhaustion that seeps out from the cracks in your bones. The kind that makes even lifting your feet feel impossible. Chapter 4. I turned and walked out. George, Willow called from behind. Where are you going? I'll go with you to get the scans. No need. I didn't turn back. You do your thing. The rain hadn't stopped, just eased a little. I stood at the entrance of the emergency building and took out my phone to call a ride. The screen was badly cracked. I had to swipe for a while before I finally opened the app. While waiting for a driver to accept the ride, I looked up at the sky. Pitch black. Nothing to see. Willow chased out after me, stopping a few steps behind, wanting to come closer but not daring to. She said softly, I called you, sent you messages, you didn't reply. My phone's broken, I said. She said, then tomorrow I'll go with you to check the car, get it repaired. And also, the car arrived. A white Toyota pulled up by the roadside with its hazard lights flashing. I opened the door, paused for a moment, then still turned back. Willow stood under the streetlight. The light shone down from above, clearly illuminating her tear-streaked face. She looked at me, her eyes filled with panic, guilt, fear, and a lot of things I couldn't quite make out. 7 years. I did the math in my head. More than 2,500 days. That's a long time. George, she stepped forward half a step. I withdrew my gaze and bent down into the car. The door shut, cutting off the sound of the rain and her voice. The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror. Sir, where to? I gave him my home address. The car started and drove away. As we passed the entrance of the emergency building, I glanced at the rearview mirror. Willow was still standing there, her figure shrinking in the rain until it became a blurry dot. I turned back and closed my eyes. The edge of the bandage on the back of my hand had started to peel. I pressed it down. It hurt a little, but compared to the wound on my forehead, compared to my possibly fractured ribs, this pain was nothing. Nothing at all. I stayed home for 3 days. Stayed was a stretch. I wasn't idle. The insurance company called. The traffic police called. The dealership called. Like a customer service rep, I repeated the details of the accident over and over again, so many times that I almost believed it myself. That night, I was just an unlucky guy. Pure bad luck. My ribs weren't too serious, a hairline fracture. The doctor told me to rest. The stitches on my forehead would take a few more days before removal. Walking around with gauze on my head. Neighbors would ask, "George, what happened?" "Bumped into something," I answered uniformly. On the morning of the 4th day, I figured it was about time to handle something real. I stood in the middle of the living room, looking around the apartment I'd lived in for 5 years. 2 bedrooms and a living room, not big, but I had put thought into the renovation back then. The sofa Willow picked, off-white, now looking a bit dirty. The curtains she chose, light gray with subtle patterns, pretty when sunlight came through. The framed photos on the wall were landscapes she had taken in college. She said they added an artistic touch. Her traces were everywhere. I went to the kitchen, boiled some water, and made a cup of tea. The tea leaves were Willow's fruit tea, overly fragrant. I took a sip, frowned, and poured it out. Then I dug out my own long jing from the back of the cabinet, brewed a cup. That felt better. Then I got to work. I started with the bedroom. Her clothes took up 2/3 of the wardrobe. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, all neatly sorted. I pulled out a large suitcase, opened it, and began packing them one by one. Dresses, shirts, sweaters, coats, folded neatly, like merchandise in a boutique. Halfway through, I noticed a dress that looked familiar, her birthday gift from me last year. She had said the color was too bright to wear out, but she still kept it, saying she'd save it for a special occasion. She never wore it. The tag was still on. I stared at the dress for a good half minute, then folded it and placed it into the suitcase. The jewelry box was on the vanity. I opened it, messy inside. Single earrings missing their pair, tangled necklaces, bracelets with missing stones. I remembered one time Willow had knocked it over in a hurry. The 2 of us had spent half an hour on the floor searching. In the end, we found it stuck under a slipper, and laughed so hard we couldn't even stand straight. Chapter 5. I picked out the pieces that could still be worn and wrapped them carefully in a soft cloth. As for the broken ones, I hesitated for a moment, then packed them up too, just in case she still wanted to keep them. I didn't recognize most of the bottles and jars on the vanity. I checked them one by one. Toner, lotion, serum, cream. One small bottle stood out, especially delicate. I picked it up and looked. It was perfume. Willow had mentioned it before, said it was expensive, so she used it sparingly, only when meeting my parents. I twisted open the cap and took a sniff. The scent was faint, hard to describe. I closed it and placed it into a separate bag. There was a photo album in the drawer. I flipped it open. The first page was a picture of the 2 of us. Sophomore year, autumn, under the ginkgo trees on campus. Back then, she had short hair, and I wore black framed glasses. We both smiled like we had no worries in the world. I flipped through more pages. Graduation photos, the first apartment we rented, our trip to the seaside, last spring festival at my place. One photo after another, page after page of time. I closed the album. I didn't put it into the suitcase. Instead, I took some bubble wrap used for shipping, wrapped it layer after layer, and set it aside separately. My phone buzzed. I picked it up. It was Willow. More than a dozen unread messages on WeChat. The latest one read, "Can we talk, please?" Scrolling up, there were more. That day was really unexpected. Makoto suddenly had a stomach hemorrhage. He doesn't have any family here. I admit it was wrong to lie to you, but I was afraid you'd overthink. How are your injuries? I want to come see you. George, can you reply to me? I swiped through them, but didn't respond. I placed the phone face down on the table and went back to work. There wasn't much in the study. Willow's books filled one shelf, mostly novels and magazines. She also had a habit of copying down sentences she liked and pasting them into a notebook. I flipped through it. Neat, delicate handwriting, densely packed. May there be years to look back on, and may we grow old together in deep love. The mountains and rivers stretch far and wide. The world is full of life's warmth. None of it is you, yet none of it is not you. I have always been a firm materialist, but for you, I wish there were an afterlife. Below that last sentence, she had drawn a small heart in red ink. I stared at that heart for a long time. Then I tore out the page, folded it once, then again, and slipped it into the inner compartment of my wallet. I closed the notebook and put it back on the shelf. The rest were miscellaneous items: her used mug, her favorite cushion, the stuffed toy by the bed, the sticky notes on the fridge. One by one, I sorted them, packing what needed to be packed, throwing away what needed to go. By 2 p.m., 3 large boxes and 1 suitcase were piled up in the living room. I sat on the floor, leaning against the sofa, and lit a cigarette. I didn't smoke often, only when I was especially tired or especially annoyed. Willow used to forbid me from buying cigarettes, saying smoking too much would make me die early. Back then, I laughed. Then you'll have to stay with me longer. Thinking about it now, that sounded pretty stupid. Halfway through the cigarette, the doorbell rang. I didn't move. It rang again. This time someone held it down, the sound sharp and grating. I sighed, stubbed out the cigarette, and got up to open the door. It was a delivery man. "Mr. Wong, your package. Please sign here." I took the form and glanced at it. The sender was Makoto. The address listed as some hospital. I frowned slightly and opened it. Inside was a fruit basket, along with a card. Mr. Wong, sorry for the trouble caused. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Makoto. The handwriting was neat. Chapter 6. I stared at the fruit basket for a few seconds, then picked it up, turned around, walked to the stairwell, and tossed it into the trash can. When I came back, the delivery guy was still there, staring at me in confusion. It was spoiled. I explained briefly, then shut the door. I washed my hands and went back to packing. The fruit basket was like a small interruption, nothing that left any trace in my mind. By evening, everything was done. I called a moving van. When the driver came upstairs and saw the scene, he asked, "Moving out?" "Yeah, just delivering some stuff." "Where to?" I gave him the name of Willow's apartment complex. He helped carry the boxes downstairs and loaded them into the truck. Before we left, I took out a key from my pocket, Willow's apartment key. She had given it to me before, saying, "You're always welcome to check up on me anytime." I looked at the key one last time, then tossed it into the roadside drain. A soft clink. The truck drove off. I turned and went back upstairs, back home. The apartment suddenly felt empty. Not physically empty, but empty in presence. When Willow was around, she always had music playing, humming along, or kept the TV on as background noise. Now there was nothing. So quiet I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator. I turned on the TV and randomly picked a news channel. Turned up the volume. That felt a bit better. I went into the bathroom and took a shower. The hot water poured over me, and I let out a long breath of relief. The mirror fogged up with steam. I wiped it with my hand and saw the gauze on my forehead. It was already a bit dirty. Might as well take it off, I thought. It's about time. Carefully, I peeled off the tape and removed the gauze. The wound was exposed. The stitches looked like a centipede crawling across my skin. Not pretty, but I didn't care. I'm a man. What's a scar? By the time I finished showering, it was already dark. I didn't feel like cooking, so I ordered takeout. While waiting, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Willow. It was Makoto. A long text message. "Mr. Wong, I don't know if you received the fruit basket I sent earlier. First, I want to sincerely apologize. What happened that night was purely a misunderstanding. Willow is a kind girl. She was only taking care of me out of friendship. What's between us is long in the past. I hope you won't misunderstand. Also, I heard you were injured in a car accident, and I feel very guilty. If you need any help, please don't hesitate to contact me. Once again, my apologies." I read it and didn't reply. I took a screenshot and sent it to Willow. Then I typed, "Keep your men in check." Sent. The takeout arrived, my usual braised chicken rice. I turned on the TV and ate while watching. The news was reporting on a local construction project. I glanced at it. Isn't that the one our company bid on? I put down my chopsticks and watched more carefully. The report said the project had made new progress, and several design companies had been shortlisted. The camera panned over the list. I saw my company's name. Not bad. I'd have to ask about the progress tomorrow at work. After finishing the meal, I cleaned up. While washing the dishes, my phone rang again. This time, it was Willow calling. I dried my hands, picked up the call, and said nothing. On the other end, I could hear her crying, her voice broken. "George, what do you mean? What do you mean? Keep your men in check." "Makoto, he's just..." I cut her off. "He just sent me a fruit basket and wrote a heartfelt apology letter." "You got it. Then why did you?" "I threw it away." Chapter 7. Willow choked on her words. The faucet hadn't been turned off properly. It dripped, drop by drop. I reached out and tightened it. The sound stopped, and all that remained on the other end of the call was her quiet sobbing. "I've packed your things," I said. "They're at your apartment's property office. The key is in your mailbox. Go get it yourself." "What things?" she asked. "Your things." My tone was calm. "Clothes, cosmetics, books, all those little things you've collected." I wrapped the photo album separately, didn't want it to get crushed. You packed my things." Willow's voice rose. "George, what gives you the right to touch my stuff? We haven't broken up." "We have now," I replied. Silence fell on the other end, so quiet I thought she had hung up. After a long pause, Willow finally spoke again, her voice trembling. "Just because of this? Just because that night I didn't tell you the truth? George, it's been 7 years of us, and you're just going to..." "It's not about that night," I said. "Really? Then what is it about? Tell me." I walked to the window and looked outside. The city at night was brightly lit, rows of office buildings glowing like an inverted galaxy. A lot of things came to mind. How she always said I wasn't romantic enough. How she compared me to Makoto. How she lied to me again and again because of him. Small things, maybe. And she always explained afterward. But trust, once it cracks, even just a little, it slowly shatters completely. "Willow." I called her by her full name. It had been a long time since I'd done that. "Do you remember last March? You said you were going to a class reunion, but Makoto was there too." Her breathing hitched on the other end. I paused, then continued. And the Chishi festival the year before, you said you were working overtime, but actually, you were with him at the hospital for his stomach problems. And the year before that. Stop it, Willow screamed. Those were coincidences. I just didn't want you to get mad. So you lied to me. That wasn't lying, it was a white lie. I laughed. I actually laughed. I clutched my ribs, it hurt a little from laughing too hard. Fine, I said. Then this is also a white lie. I'm kindly informing you that we're done. George, you can't do this. Let's talk this through. I'll come find you right now. Don't, I said, frowning. The smile faded. Even if you come, I won't open the door. I hung up. The world went quiet. Chapter 8. I stood by the window for a long time, until my legs started to go numb. Then I walked back to the living room, cleaned up the takeout containers, and carried the trash bag to the door. After a moment's thought, I picked up the slippers Willow had left behind, the pink ones with rabbit ears, and tossed them into the trash bag as well. After that, I washed an apple and sat on the sofa, biting into it. A comedy skit was playing on TV, people laughing and joking around. I watched it, didn't find it funny, but didn't feel sad either. Just empty, like a piece had been carved out of my chest, and wind was rushing through the hollow space. Strangely, it didn't hurt. My phone lit up again. This time it was WeChat. Willow, I've packed your things at your apartment. They're at the property office. The key is in your mailbox. Word for word, she sent back exactly what I had said earlier. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I replied, got it. After a moment, I added, don't contact me again. Sent. I put my phone on silent and tossed it onto the sofa. The variety show ended, and commercials started playing. I grabbed the remote and flipped through channels, back and forth, until I stopped at a sports channel. A soccer match. No idea which teams, but it was intense. I got into it. Outside, the night deepened. The living room was lit only by the flickering glow of the TV. The half-eaten apple sat on the coffee table, oxidized, turning slightly yellow. I curled up on the sofa, eyes fixed on the screen. A goal was scored. The commentator shouted in excitement. I followed along, yelling, nice shot. My voice echoed once in the empty room, then faded. It was late. The day I returned to work, there was still a bandage on my forehead. My colleague Chris was the first to notice. He let out a whistle. George, what? Did you go star in an action movie? Car accident, I said lightly, placing my briefcase on my desk. Serious? You okay? Not too bad, I replied. Just a few stitches. Chapter 9. People in the office gradually gathered around, asking questions all at once. I dealt with them one by one, and in the end said, I'm really fine. Just need a favor from everyone. No late nights for me recently. The crunch work will have to rely on you guys. I said it politely, but the meaning was clear. Everyone on the project team knew I never pulled rank and never dodged responsibility. Now that I'd spoken up, they naturally gave me their support. Don't worry, George. Focus on recovering. We've got this. I smiled, turned on my computer. My inbox was flooded, 99 plus unread emails. I made a cup of tea and started going through them one by one. Work was a good thing. It left you no time to overthink, no energy to dwell on emotions. I worked overtime for 3 straight days, catching up on everything delayed by the accident. On the 4th morning, the project manager, Sam, patted my shoulder. George, don't push yourself so hard. Your health comes first. I'm fine, I replied. Better than sitting idle. And I meant it. Being idle wasn't good. The moment I stopped, my mind started replaying scenes, like a film. The harsh white lights of the hospital, Willow's pale face, the cast on Makoto's arm. It was irritating. Better to work. On Friday afternoon, the initial proposal for the bid was ready. I gathered the team for a meeting. A room full of people stared at the projection screen, discussing back and forth. The atmosphere was lively when the meeting room door suddenly opened. The receptionist peeked in. Director Wong, someone's here for you. Who? She says she's your girlfriend. The receptionist looked a little awkward. I told her you're in a meeting, but she said she can wait. The room fell silent instantly. A dozen pairs of eyes turned toward me. My expression didn't change. I didn't even pause the laser pointer in my hand. Tell her I'm busy. No time. I did, but she insists. Then let her wait. I turned back to the screen. Back to the 3rd section. We still need to optimize the facade design. The meeting went on for another 40 minutes. When it ended, people packed up and left, their eyes drifting a bit. I knew what they were thinking. Gossip. Human nature. Chapter 10. I was the last to leave the meeting room. Willow was indeed waiting in the hallway, leaning against the wall with her head lowered. Hearing footsteps, she suddenly looked up. Half a month apart, she had lost weight. Her eyes were red, whether from lack of sleep or crying, I couldn't tell. When she saw me, she straightened up. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I walked past her without stopping. George. Willow hurried after me, grabbing my sleeve. Let's talk. Just 5 minutes. Okay. People were passing by in the hallway. Glancing over, I stopped and turned around. Her hand was still clutching my sleeve tightly, her knuckles pale. I looked down at her hand, then back at her. Let go. I won't. Her voice trembled with tears. You won't answer my calls or messages. What else can I do? I had no choice but to come here. I frowned. Say what you need to say. Willow took a deep breath, as if gathering all her courage. About Makoto, I really can explain. That night, his stomach hemorrhage was very serious. He had no one around. So I cut her off. So you lied to me and said you were on a business trip. Willow, when you were making up that lie, did you think about what I was doing? I didn't know. I was driving, I said, rushing home to video call you, because you said we'd connect at 9. Then I got into a car accident. The front of my car was crushed. The cake smashed against the windshield. I got 5 stitches on my forehead. My ribs were fractured. I paused, then asked, you know all this, right? I told you. Tears streamed down Willow's face. She choked. I know. I'm sorry. I really. Save the apologies, I said, pulling my sleeve free. Anything else? Can we not break up? She looked at me through tearful eyes. 7 years, George. From college until now, we have so many memories. Are you really just throwing it all away? I was silent for a few seconds. At the end of the hallway, a colleague peeked out, then quickly withdrew. Willow, I said, my voice calm. Do you know what I can't stand the most? She shook her head, tears still falling. It's not that you're still in contact with Makoto. It's not even that you lied to me, I said. It's that when I was lying in the hospital, your first instinct was to stand in front of him. That kind of reflex, you can't fake it. Chapter 11. Willow froze. You were protecting him, even when the person standing in front of you was me, your boyfriend. I gave a faint, mocking smile. At that moment, I knew, in your heart, I'm no longer the one who comes first. That's not it. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I cut her off. Then don't do anything, I said. Let's end it here. It's better for both of us. I turned to leave. George, Willow shouted from behind. Are you really this heartless? 7 years, just like that. You're ending it. I didn't look back. Her voice grew more frantic. I'll change. I won't see him anymore. I'll delete all his contacts. Okay, we can start over, I promise, I said impatiently. You've made plenty of promises before. I stopped, turning slightly to the side. Freshman year, you said you'd study English properly. You failed. Junior year, you said you'd quit sugar. You're still drinking milk tea. After you started working, you said no more staying up late watching shows. Just last month I caught you watching a variety show at 3 a.m. I paused, then added, Willow, some things don't change just because you promise they will. After that, I strode forward without stopping. Willow stayed where she was, crying so hard her shoulders shook. The receptionist couldn't bear it and brought over a pack of tissues. Miss, don't cry. Here, wipe your tears. I went back to my office and closed the door. Outside, the sky was growing darker, the city lights flickering on one by one. I stood by the window and lit a cigarette. Halfway through, my phone buzzed. It was Willow again, another long message. I know I was wrong, terribly wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you, and I shouldn't have chosen to be with him instead of you at that moment. But George, my feelings for you over these 7 years were real. I stayed up with you working on projects, took care of your mom when she was sick, stayed with you from renting to buying a home. Have you forgotten all that? Give me one more chance, the last one, please? I read it, but didn't reply. I stubbed out the cigarette, opened my computer, and went back to work. By 8 p.m., most people had left the office. I shut down my computer and packed up, ready to leave. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Sam. George, still at the office. Perfect timing. Come grab dinner. I'll introduce you to a friend. What kind of friend? From the client's side, in charge of the project we're bidding for. Pretty great person. Good to get acquainted early. I thought for a moment. All right. Where? Sam sent the address, a private dining restaurant. I took a taxi there. Traffic was a bit heavy. I leaned against the window, watching the neon lights blur past. When I arrived, Sam was already in the private room. Besides him, there was a woman, early 30s, short hair, wearing a white shirt, sharp and professional. Come, let me introduce you. Sam stood up. This is Anna, the project lead from the city investment side. Anna, this is our company's design director, George Wang, young and talented. Anna Sue stood up and extended her hand. Director Wang, I've heard a lot about you. You're too kind, Miss Sue, I said, shaking her hand. Just call me George. Chapter 12. The three of us sat down. Sam busied himself ordering dishes, while Anna and I started chatting. I had expected it to be just polite small talk, but as we talked, we found we actually got along quite well. Anna also had a background in architecture before transitioning into project management. She was very interested in our company's proposal and raised several questions, each one right on point. I answered them one by one, and the conversation grew deeper. Before we knew it, we had completely left Sam out. Hey, that's enough. You too, Sam said, half laughing, half exasperated. We're here to eat, not talk shop. Anna smiled. Sorry, occupational habit. She picked up her teacup and raised it to me. Director Wong, I've seen your professional capabilities for myself. I hope we'll have the chance to work together. Let's hope so, I said, raising my cup. Dinner lasted until after 9. Sam had something to do and left early. Anna and I stayed a bit longer, continuing to talk about the industry. She was easy to talk to and a great listener. Whenever she chimed in, it was always right to the point. When it came time to pay, we both tried to grab the bill. In the end, Anna won. This one's on me, she said. Let's treat it as an early celebration for a successful collaboration. I didn't insist. Then I'll get the next one. Deal. When we stepped out of the restaurant, the night breeze felt pleasantly cool. Anna's car was parked across the street. She asked, "How are you getting back? Want a ride?" "No need. I'll call a cab. This area's not easy to get a ride at this hour," she said, glancing at her phone. "It's on my way anyway. I'll drop you off." I hesitated for a moment, then got into her car. Soft music played inside. The air smelled fresh and clean, not like Willow's car, which was always filled with perfume. Anna drove steadily, speaking little, occasionally asking for directions. While waiting at a red light, she suddenly said, "Is your forehead okay?" I paused, then remembered the bandage I was still wearing. "It's fine, almost healed." "That's good." The light turned green, and she pressed the gas. "No matter how hard you work, safety comes first." "Thanks." She drove me to the entrance of my apartment complex. I got out and thanked her. She rolled down the window and said, "If there's anything about the bid, feel free to contact me anytime." "Will do. And one more thing." She paused. "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I can tell you haven't been in the best state lately." I smiled. "That obvious? In our line of work, we're good at reading people," Anna said with a smile. "All right, I'm off. Get some rest." Her car merged into traffic, the taillights blinking as they faded into the distance. I stood at the entrance of the complex and lit a cigarette. After a couple of puffs, I suddenly thought of the fresh scent in Anna's car, and stubbed it out. I walked toward my building. Just as I was about to reach downstairs, I saw a figure standing there. Chapter 13. Willow. She must have been waiting for a long time, leaning against the wall, squatting there in a daze. When she saw me, she stood up and walked over. "You," I frowned. "Why are you here?" "I called you. You didn't answer." Willow's voice was hoarse. "You didn't reply to my messages either." I had no choice but to wait here. "What is it?" "Makoto came to see me." She stared straight into my eyes, as if trying to read something from them. "He told me you threw away the fruit basket he sent." I gave a faint nod. "Why?" Her voice rose slightly. "He was just trying to apologize." "Was that really necessary?" "It was," I said. "I don't need his apology." "George, when did you become this harsh?" Willow's eyes reddened again. "Yes, I was wrong to lie to you, but Makoto is innocent. He hasn't fully recovered yet. The moment he left the hospital, he sent you that fruit basket." I cut her off. "Whatever he is, what does that have to do with me?" "Willow, get this straight. This is between you and him now. Don't drag me into it." "How can I not drag you into it? If it weren't for you, if it weren't for me." "What?" I laughed. "If I hadn't caught you that night, would you have just kept this going? You keep lying to me." He keeps playing the pitiful act. The two of you putting on some touching drama, while I stand on the side like an idiot. Willow was left speechless. The night wind blew past, carrying a hint of chill. I pulled my coat tighter, suddenly feeling tired. "Go home," I said. "Stop standing here." "I'm not leaving." Willow looked at me stubbornly. "Not unless you agree to talk this through with me properly," I said impatiently. "There's nothing left to talk about." "There is." She suddenly burst out. "We've never actually talked properly. You've just been blaming me, judging me. George, in these 7 years, have you been flawless? When you're busy with work, you disappear for days. You forgot my birthday. You forgot our anniversaries. Did I ever complain? I understood you. I made allowances for you, but what about you? Did you ever try to understand me?" Chapter 14. I looked at her and said nothing. Willow wiped her tears and continued. "Yes, I was wrong to lie to you, but why did I lie? Because every time you heard Makoto's name, you got angry. I didn't dare tell you. I was afraid you'd get mad. Afraid we'd argue. I thought once he got better, everything would be fine. So it's my fault?" I asked. "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you meant." I nodded. "Fine. I'll take it. My fault. I wasn't attentive enough. Not thoughtful enough. Didn't care about you enough. So you went to Makoto." "Makes perfect sense." "I didn't." "Willow," I interrupted her, my voice quiet. "Can we stop tormenting each other?" She looked at me, tears still streaming down. "These 7 years, I did my best," I said. "The romance you wanted, I couldn't give you. The sense of security you wanted, I couldn't give you either. If Makoto can give you that, then go to him. I won't stop you." "I don't want him." Willow almost shouted. "I want you. George, I only want you. But I don't want you anymore." The moment the words left my mouth, Both of us froze. Even I hadn't expected to say it so directly, but strangely, after saying it, I felt lighter, like a heavy stone that had been pressing on me was suddenly lifted. Willow's face turned deathly pale. She opened her mouth, trying to say something, but no sound came out. In the end, she just shook her head, over and over. I turned and walked toward the building. "George," she shouted behind me, her voice breaking apart. "You'll regret this. You will regret this." I didn't look back. The elevator moved upward slowly. My reflection stared back at me in the mirrored walls. The edge of the bandage on my forehead had started to peel. I pressed it down with my hand. When I got home, I took a shower. The hot water washed over me, loosening the tension in my body bit by bit. Afterward, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Anna. "Did you get home?" I dried my hair and replied, "Yeah, thanks again for today." "You're welcome. By the way, are you free next Wednesday? There's an architecture forum, pretty interesting. Want to go together?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Sure." Sent. Outside, the night had deepened. In the distance, faint sounds of traffic drifted through, like the steady, quiet breathing of the city. I turned off the lights and lay down on the bed. The pillow carried a faint scent of detergent, lemon, freshly washed. I buried my face into it and took a deep breath. Then I closed my eyes and fell asleep. A dreamless night. Chapter 15. Days passed one after another, as quickly as flipping through pages of a book. My life gradually settled into a new rhythm. I woke up at 7 every morning, made coffee, toasted bread, and ate breakfast while listening to the morning news. Left the house at 8, took line 4, then transferred to line 2, and arrived at the office before 9. Lunch was with colleagues, sometimes takeout, sometimes the company cafeteria. In the evenings, if I wasn't working overtime, I'd spend an hour at the gym or watch a movie. So routine it almost didn't feel like me. One day, Sam joked, "George, are you trying to become immortal? Not a trace of worldly life left in you." I just smiled and said nothing. I thought it was fine this way. Peaceful. Willow didn't come looking for me again. She did send a few messages on WeChat, not long. Nothing important. Things like, "It's getting colder. Wear more. Saw your moments. Did your project win the bid? Congrats. Passed by that bakery you like. It closed. Kind of a shame." I didn't reply. Didn't block her either. Just left it there. Blocking felt too deliberate. Like I still cared too much. Better to leave it. Like a stranger. Makoto, however, showed up again, in a way I didn't expect. That day, I was in the office drafting designs when the receptionist knocked and came in, looking a bit awkward. "Director Wong, someone's here for you. Says he's your friend." "Who?" "Last name Ito." "Makoto." My pen paused for a moment. I looked up, thought about it, then said, "Let him in." When Makoto walked in, I was organizing blueprints. My office wasn't big, a desk, 2 computers, walls covered in design drafts. He stood at the door, glanced around, then fixed his gaze on me. "Mr. Wong, sorry to disturb you." I gestured to the chair across from me. "Sit." Makoto sat down, holding a paper bag, which he placed on the desk. "Just a small token. I heard you like tea." I glanced at the bag but said nothing. Leaning back in my chair, hands folded on the desk, I asked, "Mr. Ito, what brings you here?" My tone was flat, like I was receiving an ordinary client. Makoto seemed slightly uncomfortable. He cleared his throat. "Well, I heard your company is bidding for the commercial complex project in the East District. I happen to have a friend in the planning bureau there." "Mr. Ito," I interrupted, "if it's business, go through proper channels. If it's personal," I paused. "I don't think we have anything personal to discuss." Makoto faltered, his expression stiffening, but he quickly adjusted, forcing a smile. "Don't misunderstand, Mr. Wong. I just wanted to apologize for what happened before. That day at the hospital, and the fruit basket. I didn't think it through." I looked at him, saying nothing. He continued, his tone sincere. "Willow hasn't been doing well lately. I know I'm not in a position to say this, but since this situation started because of me, I can't help but feel guilty. If possible, I hope you can give her another chance, talk things through properly." "Talk about what?" I asked. "About the two of you," Makoto said. 7 years together, it's not something you can just throw away, right? And Willow told me, she really regrets it. She cries every day." "Mr. Ito." I cut him off again, still calm. "First, Willow and I have already broken up. That's between the two of us, no need for a third party. Second, however you act in front of her is your business. Don't come perform here. Third," I stood up and walked to the door. "The door's over there. I won't see you out." The smile on Makoto's face finally collapsed. He stood up and stared at me. "Mr. Wong, that's a bit too cold, don't you think?" "I reserve warmth for people who deserve it," I said, pulling the door open. "Not you." Makoto's expression shifted several times. In the end, he picked up the paper bag and left. I closed the door and sat back down. Picking up my pen, I continued drawing. The sound of the pen against paper was soft and steady. Half an hour later, my phone buzzed. It was Willow. Did Makoto come to see you? I'm sorry. I didn't know he would go. Chapter 16. I read the message and didn't reply. I turned the phone face down on the desk. The sunlight outside was bright, casting a faint glow over the blueprints. I squinted slightly, and suddenly remembered those days in college when Willow and I used to draw together in the library. She liked to lean beside me, watching me sketch. Then, before long, she'd fall asleep. I would drape my coat over her and keep working. So many years had passed in the blink of an eye. I shook my head, pushing the memory away. Then I got up and went to the pantry to make a fresh cup of tea. The tea leaves unfurled slowly in the hot water, then gradually sank. I watched them for a moment and suddenly thought, some things are like tea leaves. Once they've been steeped, the flavor fades. Brew them again, and it's just not the same. The bidding project entered its final stage, and I was so busy my feet barely touched the ground. I worked overtime for several days straight, getting home past midnight every night. One evening, it was raining. I stood downstairs at the office trying to hail a cab, but after 20 minutes, nothing came. I was just wondering whether to walk to the subway station when a white SUV pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down. It was Anna. Director Wong. Still working this late? I nodded. Miss Sue working overtime too? Just finished a meeting. Anna smiled. Where are you headed? I can give you a ride. No need to trouble yourself. I'll call a cab. She pushed the car door open directly. At this hour, in this weather, you won't get one even if you wait till morning. Get in. It's on my way. I hesitated for a moment, then got into the car. The air inside still carried that fresh scent. This time I recognized it. Grapefruit. Anna put on some music. Soft piano pieces. Rain tapped against the windows. A steady patter, while the inside of the car remained quiet. Anna spoke first. I heard your proposal is very strong. We discussed it internally. Very high evaluations. Thank you, I said. It's mostly the team's effort. You're too modest. Anna glanced at me. Sam told me you've been in great form lately, like you're running on adrenaline. I smiled. He exaggerates. It's not exaggeration, Anna said, turning on the signal light. I've seen a lot of people, after a breakup, they either fall apart or spiral. People like you, who throw all their energy into work, not many. I didn't respond. I looked out the window, watching the rain stream down the glass in streaks. I got divorced 2 years ago, Anna suddenly said. I turned to look at her. My ex cheated, with his female assistant. Her tone was calm, like she was talking about someone else. She let out a small sigh. The day I found out happened to be our 5th wedding anniversary. He booked a restaurant, bought flowers, even prepared a gift. Academy-level performance. I didn't know what to say. Anna continued. I didn't cry, didn't make a scene. The next day, I went to a lawyer and drafted the agreement. A month later, everything was finalized. Looking back now, I kind of admire myself. How could I stay that calm? What happened after that? I asked. After that, Anna smiled. Just like now. Work, gym, an occasional drink with friends. It's good, really. The car stopped at a red light. The wipers moved back and forth in a steady rhythm. What I'm trying to say is, Anna turned to look at me. Some things, once they're over, they're over. The more you dwell on them, the more they cling to you. Better to move forward. The road ahead is still long. The light turned green. The car moved again. After a moment of silence, I said, thank you. You're welcome. Anna replied. Consider it, advice from someone who's been through it. The car stopped at the entrance of my apartment complex. Just as I was about to get out, Anna called after me. By the way, don't forget about the forum next week. I won't. I'll be there. I'll contact you then. All right. Chapter 17. By the time I got home, it was almost midnight. I took a shower, but even lying in bed, I couldn't fall asleep. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my WeChat feed. Willow had posted an update, a photo of the night skyline, captioned, rainy night, alone. The location tag was a hospital. I stared at the photo for a few seconds, then swiped past it. Below was a group dinner photo Sam had posted, then Chris showing off his cat, followed by ads, motivational fluff, and random jokes. I scrolled for a while, felt bored, and turned off my phone. In the darkness, I lay there with my eyes open, listening to the rain outside the window. Anna was right. Some things, once they're over, are just over. But why did it still feel like something was missing inside me? It didn't hurt, it was just empty. Like something was gone, but I couldn't quite tell what. I remembered how Willow used to be terrified of thunder. Whenever it rained, she would crawl into my arms, cover her eyes, and say, George, George, it's thundering. I would hold her, pat her back, and tell her, it's okay, don't be scared. Now that it was thundering, she was alone in a hospital. Was she scared? I turned over and buried my face in the pillow. Stop thinking about it, I told myself. It's all in the past. The next day was Saturday. Rarely, I let myself sleep in. When I woke up, it was already close to noon. Sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, casting a bright strip across the floor. I got up, made coffee, toasted some bread, Then sat at the dining table and opened my laptop. There was a new email from Anna in my inbox, details about next week's forum. I replied with received, then started working through my emails. Halfway through, the doorbell rang. I frowned. Who would come at this hour? I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Willow. She stood outside, holding a thermos container. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen. I didn't open the door. The doorbell rang again, over and over, urgent and relentless. I turned and walked back. My phone buzzed. A message from Willow. George, I know you're home. I'll just say a few words and then I'll leave. I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the door. After about a minute, I walked back and opened it. When Willow saw me, her eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed again. She handed the thermos toward me and said, I made you some soup. You've lost weight recently. No need. I didn't take it. Say what you came to say. Her hand froze midair. She bit her lip, then set the thermos on the ground. About Makoto. I'm sorry. I didn't know he would come looking for you. I had a big fight with him. It won't happen again. I said nothing. Willow continued. Also, I moved. I gave up the old place. I'm staying at my mom's for a while. I need to calm down. I nodded. Anything else? Us? Is there really no chance anymore? Willow looked up, tears welling in her eyes. George, this past month, I've been thinking every day about us, about how we ended up like this. I know I was wrong. I really do. Can you give me one more chance? I looked at her. She looked exhausted, thinner than I remembered. She used to complain about wanting to lose weight. Now she had, but for all the wrong reasons. Willow, I said softly, do you remember our first fight? She froze for a moment. It was sophomore year. I forgot your birthday. You cried and said I didn't care about you. I spent 3 days trying to make it up to you. In the end, I bought you a necklace before you forgave me. Willow nodded, tears falling. Later, you told me you didn't really want the gift. You just wanted to see if I cared enough to panic over you. I smiled faintly. Back then, I thought, well, girls get a little emotional sometimes. I cared about you, so I was willing to comfort you. But it's been 7 years. Willow, my smile faded. You've been testing me the same way all this time. Forgetting your keys so I'd come deliver them. Getting sick so I'd stay with you. Working late so I'd pick you up. Every time you said, I just want to see if you care about me. I've been reassuring you for 7 years, and I've been tired for 7 years. Willow opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but nothing came out. Makoto was just the last straw, I said. Even without him, we wouldn't have made it. You're always asking for reassurance, and I'm always trying to prove that I love you. That kind of relationship, it's exhausting. I can change, Willow cried. I won't be like this anymore. I swear. It's not necessary. I shook my head. You won't change, and I don't want to keep waiting. Chapter 18. I bent down, picked up the thermos, and handed it back to her. Take the soup back. Drink it yourself. Don't come here again. Go live your own life. Willow didn't take it. She just cried, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. I set the thermos on the ground, stepped back, and closed the door. The sound of the door closing was soft, but in the quiet hallway, it still seemed loud. I leaned against the door and heard her muffled sobs from outside, growing softer, fading away, until they disappeared completely. Then came the sound of footsteps, slowly moving farther and farther away. I stood there for a long time, until my legs started to feel numb. Then I walked to the window and saw Willow leaving the building, gradually disappearing at the entrance of the residential compound. The sunlight was bright, so bright it almost hurt to keep my eyes open. I picked up my phone and sent Anna a message. What time does next week's forum start exactly? Anna replied quickly, 9 a.m. Why? Can't wait. I typed, yeah, want to get there early. Sent. I put my phone back into my pocket, turned, and walked into the kitchen to start preparing lunch. As I chopped vegetables, I began humming a tune, an old song. I couldn't remember the name, but the melody was light and cheerful. Outside the window, the sky was a deep, endless blue without a single cloud. Life goes on, doesn't it? Time is a strange thing. When you stare at it, it moves slowly. The moment you stop paying attention, it slips away without a trace. Before I knew it, half a year had passed. My life became like a wound-up clock, ticking along steadily. Work, home, the gym, and occasionally grabbing a meal with colleagues. Sam said I was becoming more and more like a proper adult. I smiled and said, wasn't I proper before? You were. Sam thought for a moment and said, just not this. Steady. Steady. I like that word. Living a steady life, it's pretty good. Chapter 19. We won the bidding project, and at the celebration banquet everyone partied until midnight. I was forced to drink quite a bit, but I wasn't drunk, just a little dizzy. When it ended, Anna walked over and asked, together? No need. I'll call a designated driver, she said. I called one too. Let's wait together. We stood at the hotel entrance. The night breeze carried a slight chill. Anna lit a cigarette and handed me one. I took it but didn't smoke. Just held it between my fingers. Anna asked. I heard you went to Iceland a while back. Yeah, saw the northern lights. How was it? Cold, I said, but beautiful. Anna laughed. That description tells me nothing. I smiled too. What I wanted to say was, standing in that frozen wilderness, watching green light dance across the sky, you feel incredibly small. All the love, the hate, the struggles, the pain, they suddenly don't seem important anymore. But I didn't say it. Some feelings are better kept to yourself. The drivers arrived, and we got into our respective cars. Anna rolled down her window and said, "There's an architecture exhibition next week. Want to go together?" "Sure. I'll send you the details." "Okay." The car started and merged into traffic. I leaned back in my seat, watching the city lights flash past outside the window. This city is always so bright it's hard to tell day from night. Suddenly, I remembered Willow used to say she wanted to go to Iceland to see the northern lights. She said it was something she had to do at least once in her life. Now I've been there. What about her? I shook my head, forcing the thought out. It's all in the past. What's the point of thinking about it? Life goes on. The company took on a new project in a neighboring city. I led the team there for site inspections. Staying for half a month, the construction site was full of dust. Every day I ran around in a hard hat, and by the time I got back to the hotel at night, I was so exhausted I'd fall asleep immediately. One night, I dreamed of Willow. The dream was strange. There wasn't much of a plot. She was just crying nonstop, to the point it annoyed me. I asked her why she was crying, but she didn't answer, just kept crying. Eventually I got impatient and said, "If you keep crying, I'm leaving." And then I actually left. As I walked away, I glanced back once. She was still crying. When I woke up, it was still dark. The hotel room was pitch black. I sat up and lit a cigarette. Halfway through, my phone lit up. It was Anna, sending photos from the architecture exhibition. Captioned, "This design is interesting." I flipped through them one by one and replied, "It really is." Anna replied instantly, "Still awake? Just woke up." "Same here. Haven't adjusted to the time difference yet." Anna was on a business trip abroad, with a 7-hour time difference. I did the math. It should be afternoon where she was. We chatted casually, about design, projects, books we'd read recently. Toward the end, Anna said, "George, have you ever thought that we get along pretty well?" I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I replied, "Yeah." She asked, "So, want to give it a try?" I didn't answer right away. I walked to the window and pulled open the curtains. Dawn was just breaking outside. The city hadn't fully awakened yet. It was quiet, like a painting. I thought about a lot of things. The past 6 months, the northern lights in Iceland, the dust at the construction site, and Willow crying in my dream. In the end, I typed, "Anna, you're great, really, but right now, I'm probably not ready to start a new relationship." Sent. It took a while before she replied, "Got it. Let's pretend I didn't say anything. Sorry. No need to apologize." Anna sent a smiling emoji. I was being a bit impulsive. Being friends is good too. Yeah, friends. Chapter 20. I put down my phone. It was already daylight. I splashed some water on my face and looked at the person in the mirror. The scar on my forehead had faded a lot, barely noticeable unless you looked closely. That's good. Some things should be like this, slowly fading away. When the inspection ended, on the day we headed back, the project team suggested stopping by a nearby ancient town. Since we're already here, they urged. I originally wanted to head straight back, but couldn't resist the persuasion, so I went along. The town was old, stone-paved streets, white walls, black tiles, small bridges overflowing water. There weren't many tourists, just a few scattered groups wandering leisurely. I walked alone by the river, watching an old man fishing. The fishing rod didn't move, and neither did he. He just sat there calmly, like a statue. I found the scene interesting and took out my phone to snap a photo. Just as I was about to put it away, I looked up and saw someone standing across the bridge. Willow. She was wearing a light-colored dress, her hair cut short to her shoulders. She held a cup of coffee, looking at me. We stood on opposite sides of the small river, staring at each other for a few seconds. I moved first. I crossed the bridge and walked up to her. "What a coincidence," I said. Willow nodded. Her voice was a little dry. "Yeah, what a coincidence." She had lost weight. Her skin looked paler, but her gaze was much calmer. It no longer carried that constant unease she used to have. I noticed a wooden bracelet on her wrist. It looked old. "How come you?" I started. "I'm staying here for a while," Willow said. "Writing something." "Writing?" "Yeah, just casually." She smiled a little awkwardly. "What about you?" "Here for fun." "Business trip." "Just passing by." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Ducks swam by in the river, quacking, leaving ripples behind them. "You've been," Willow started, then stopped. She tightened her grip on her coffee cup. "How have you been?" "Not bad," I said. "You?" "I'm doing okay too," she said, trying to start over. I nodded. I noticed the ring on her finger was gone, the one I had bought with 3 months' salary. "I returned the ring to your mom," Willow said, as if she knew what I was thinking. And the things you gave me, the expensive ones, I returned them too. You didn't have to. I did. She was firm. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel right. I didn't say anything else. I noticed the faint lines at the corners of her eyes, more obvious than before. Half a year wasn't long, but it was enough to leave marks on a person. What about Makoto? I asked. Willow's expression stiffened for a moment. Then she shook her head. We're not in contact anymore. He tried to reach me a few times, but I didn't see him. She looked up at me. I figured it out. Some things can't be avoided forever. I nodded. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was a calm kind of silence. Like two old friends who hadn't seen each other in a long time. There wasn't much to say, but there didn't need to be. I should go. Willow said. I have a meeting. Okay. She turned to leave, then paused and looked back at me. George. Yeah. I'm sorry. Her voice was soft, but clear. I really am. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I nodded. I know. Not, it's okay. Not, I forgive you. Just I know. Willow's eyes turned red, but she didn't cry. She forced a smile. Then, goodbye. Goodbye. She left, walking slowly along the stone-paved road. Her dress fluttered in the wind, like a fallen leaf. I stood there, watching her disappear at the end of the alley. Then I took out a cigarette and lit it. Halfway through, a colleague called. George, where are you? We're leaving. Coming. I stubbed out the cigarette and headed back. Passing by a small shop, I saw some handmade ornaments displayed outside. I stepped in and looked around, eventually picking a small wooden duck, simple and cute. Gift or for yourself? The shop owner asked. For myself. All right, I'll wrap it up for you. I took the little wooden duck and walked out of the shop. The sunlight was warm on my skin. Suddenly, I remembered that long ago, Willow had given me a small wooden carving too, a rabbit. She said I was like a rabbit, gentle on the surface, but capable of biting when pushed. Where did that carving go? I couldn't remember, but it didn't matter anymore. Chapter 21. Back at the company, it was the same pile of work again. Meetings, drafting, revising plans, overtime. Life felt like copy and paste, day after day. One night, after working late, I ran into an old lady selling flowers at the entrance of my residential compound. It was already late, and the flowers in her basket were starting to wilt. Young man, buy a bouquet, she said. I'll sell them cheap. Once they're gone, I'll head home. I took a look and picked a bunch of sunflowers. They weren't in perfect bloom, but their bright yellow color felt cheerful. For your girlfriend? The old lady asked while wrapping them. For myself. Good, good. For yourself, she muttered. Flowers should be grown for yourself. Watching them bloom makes you feel better. I paid and carried the flowers home. I found a vase, filled it with water, and placed the sunflowers inside. On the dining table, they looked pretty nice. I took a photo and posted it. New member. Soon. People liked and commented. Sam said, oh wow. Director Wong's got taste now. Chris said, George growing flowers. Did the sun rise in the west? Anna left a smiling emoji. Willow liked it too. It was the first time she had liked one of my posts since we broke up. I stared at that like for a few seconds, then scrolled past it. I changed the water for the flowers and wiped down the table. By the time I finished, it was almost 11. I took a shower and lay in bed, but I didn't feel sleepy. My phone lit up. It was a voice message from my mom. Son, are you asleep? Aunt Jean introduced a girl to you. I sent you her photo. Take a look. I opened the photo. She looked quiet and gentle, wearing glasses, taken in a library. I replied, Mom, I don't want to date right now. You're already this age and still not dating. Waiting to stay single forever. I replied, being single is fine. What's fine about it? Hurry up and add her on WeChat. Chat a bit. I sighed and replied perfunctorily, all right, I'll add her. But I didn't. I put my phone aside and stared at the ceiling. Honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted right now. A relationship. Didn't feel like it. Marriage. Even further away. I just wanted to live like this. Work. Home. Grow some plants. Read some books. Go out occasionally. Simple, but fulfilling. Moonlight streamed in from outside, casting a pale glow on the floor. It reminded me of nights in Iceland, the same kind of light reflecting off the snow. Bright as day. Back then, I stood in the snow, my breath instantly turning into white mist. The guide said that when the northern lights appeared, wishes would come true. I didn't make a wish. I didn't know what to wish for. Thinking about it now, maybe that was when I had already let go. Not intentionally, just naturally. Like snow melting into water, seeping into the ground, disappearing. I turned over and closed my eyes. The next day was the weekend. I slept until I woke up naturally. It was almost noon. Sunlight shone onto the sunflowers, their petals opening up, looking much more lively. I made brunch, eggs, bacon, and toast. With a cup of coffee, I sat at the table and ate slowly. My phone buzzed. It was Anna. Are you free this afternoon? There's a lecture at the exhibition hall. Pretty good. I thought for a moment and replied, yeah. She replied, I'll come pick you up at 1. Okay. After eating, I changed into a simple outfit, white t-shirt, jeans, and a shirt over it. When I looked in the mirror, I noticed I had gained a bit of weight. My face wasn't as sharp anymore. Not bad. It meant I'd been sleeping well. Anna arrived downstairs right on time. She was wearing a dress today, with light makeup. She looked softer than usual. She teased, "Looking pretty good today." "You too," I said. The lecture was good. The speaker was an old architect who shared many interesting ideas. I listened carefully and took quite a few notes. Anna did the same. We occasionally exchanged glances and nodded. By the time it ended, the sky had already darkened. Anna said, "Want to grab dinner together?" "Sure." Chapter 22. We went to a small restaurant that served home-style dishes. We ordered 3 dishes and a soup, chatting as we ate, about the lecture, industry trends, and movies we'd seen recently. Halfway through, Anna suddenly asked, "Have you seen your ex since then?" My hand paused for a moment as I picked up some food. "Once. And then nothing after that," I said. "Just said hi." Anna nodded and didn't press further. She ladled herself a bowl of soup and drank it slowly. After dinner, when we got downstairs, she said, "George, I'm being transferred to Beijing next month." I froze for a second. "That soon?" "Yeah. Headquarters needs people." Anna looked at me. "So when I asked you last time if you wanted to give it a try, I had a bit of selfish intent. I was thinking, if it worked out, maybe you could come with me." I smiled. "Then you should have told me earlier. It's not too late to say it now." Anna smiled too. "So, want to think about it? Beijing has more opportunities, more room to grow." I thought about it, then shook my head. "I'm doing pretty well here. Figured you'd say that." Anna didn't seem surprised. "Then I wish you all the best here." "You too." We got out of the car and stood downstairs. The streetlights stretched our shadows long across the ground. "Can I get a hug?" Anna opened her arms. I hugged her. It was a light embrace, brief, and then we let go. Anna waved. "I'm off." She got into the car and started it. The car drove away, its taillights disappearing around the corner. I stood there for a while, then turned and went upstairs. In the elevator, I looked at myself in the mirror, my expression calm, my eyes clear. Not bad, I thought. Back home, I changed the water for the sunflowers. The petals were starting to wilt, but they hadn't faded yet. I touched them, soft and cool. My phone rang. It was my mom. "Son, did you add that girl?" Yeah, I did," I replied perfunctorily. "Then talk to her. What's the point of just adding her?" I am, I said, brushing it off. After hanging up, I sat on the sofa and turned on the TV. I randomly picked a channel. An old movie was playing, A Chinese Odyssey. When the fairy Xixia said, "My destined one is a great hero," I suddenly laughed. Why was I laughing? I didn't even know. I just felt like life was pretty interesting. People come and go, gather and part, like a movie where you never know what the next scene will be. But it doesn't matter. You just have to play your own role well. The movie ended, and the ending song began to play. I turned off the TV and walked to the window. The night was deep. Lights glowing in countless homes. Neon flickered in the distance. Traffic flowed nearby. I stood there for a long time, then drew the curtains. Time to sleep. Tomorrow is another new day.